What's up, and welcome back to the Kind of Funny Screencast. Of course, I'm Tim Geddes, and I'm joined by the big dog, Kevin Coelho.
What up, dude?
And making a pretty rare appearance on the Kind of Funny Screencast, Greg Miller.
I appreciate right now. I was talking to you guys before we went on air. I'm struggling with my tripod and getting it back to the position I like it in. But if you look at how we're set up, it's like we're like nesting dolls.
Yeah.
It's like, Tim.
I was about to fix it. God damn.
No, I don't care. I'm just Kevin. This is a screencast. We all have fun here talking about a really uplifting show like Euphoria. That's right, Tim. It's rare that I come on the screencast. I go see the superhero movies with you guys, and that usually puts me in a different kind of funny in review ballpark. But goddamn, do I love Euphoria? And so you guys were like, does anybody want to talk about this? And I was like, I do, Tim. I do.
Yeah, and that's exactly what we're talking about today, because this is the Kind of Funny Screencast, where each and every week we get together to talk about our opinions on the latest in TV, movies, and trailers. Of course, you can get it on youtube.com/kindoffunny or roosterteeth.com. You could also get it as a podcast by searching your favorite podcast service for Kind of Funny Screencast. And we do a whole bunch of cool stuff. If there's a superhero show, if there's a Star Wars show, we're probably doing weekly reactions to each one of those. But we also do a bunch of fun movies and stuff, including this week. We will be doing a spoiler-free The Batman review in the coming days before our actual proper Kind of Funny in review of The Batman later on in the week, which is very, very exciting. Today we're doing Euphoria. We just last week put up a What We've Been Watching, where we talk about the After Party and Pam and Tommy and a couple other fun shows. I don't remember. Oh, Murderville and all that. So you can go check that out. But remember, if you want to be a patreon.com/kindoffunny supporter, that's what you got to do. You go to that website and you too can become a producer, just like Gordon McGuire, Molecule, and at James Davis makes. We appreciate you also very, very much. You're right, Greg. I hit you up. I knew you were watching Euphoria, and I was like, I want you on this show. I want as many people as possible to talk about this show, because I haven't had anyone to talk to about it, Greg. And it has been one of those transformative experiences where in the last couple of weeks, I went from having seen one random episode of Euphoria, episode 4 of season 1, because Gia watched season 1.
Okay.
While I was working on an editing project. But every once in a while, it would just catch my ear, catch my eye. And I'm like, what the fuck is this? This seems like a mess that I want to be a part of. And it was the carnival episode.
Oh my God.
That's a
I was
wild one to watch.
absolutely transfixed by it. And I'm like, okay, I want to watch this show. And she's like, okay, cool. When it gets to season 2, I'll rewatch season 1 with you and we'll go from there. So that's exactly what we did. So I've had a lot of intense content pushed into my life in a very short amount of time. And now here I am, a changed man. I do want to show you something, Greg, that I think you'll appreciate. A24 sells the screenplays of the episodes in these really cool books.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
So now you
them
can
all?
read them.
Oh, yeah,
I was gonna say, are we gonna do like live action? Are we gonna do reenactments here?
Mm-hmm.
I wanna be
Y'all
Nate.
thought this was a review. This is actually so it's the whole actual screenplay of every episode,
Nice.
and then storyboards and like
That's cool.
all the behind the scenes stuff of how they
Little
did
art
stuff,
books.
which is really, really cool. Yeah. So anyways, very excited about that. But anyways, let's start with you. What did you think of Euphoria season 2?
This show sucks. No, I'm kidding. I loved it. I mean, I think, I watch, Jen and I don't watch a lot of stuff, but then when we do watch something, we like watch all of it kind of thing, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? Like, we're dedicated to the things we watch. And so Euphoria was the constant thing. I don't know how my wife works. You know what I mean? I know for all three of us, we live and die by whatever entertainment thing we're excited about. But every Sunday morning, we'd wake up and go to the farmer's market. And at some point on the drive, be like, by the way, Euphoria tonight. And Jen would always go, ooh, like she had forgotten. How can you forget Euphoria?
How?
You know what I mean? Like, what are we talking about? We have to find out what Rue and the crew are up to, as I always say. You know what I mean? Kevin, get that on a t-shirt for me. But anyways, season 2, I think, is the first time in a long time I've enjoyed something episodically that I sit there and I go like, this is art. And I don't mean it in like a hoity-toity way. I just mean it in the way of like, this is like everything about this show has been thought out. And I forget who's the guy who makes it, Sam Levinson, right? Sam Levinson. Like, clearly he has sat there and has every, like, in the way we, always applaud James Gunn for musical choices or whatever, like he's doing that with everything in framing, in moments, in things that are said, and how it all, and to have it all tie together in this finale, or spoilers yet or no spoilers?
This is full spoilers.
Okay, so yeah, to tie it together in the finale, right, of like the way the play comes together with all the things from their lives and even the things we've teased before, and for better or worse, sometimes I think I've seen Rue's funeral speech enough, but I enjoyed the ride to get there, and the whole thing, like, it doesn't play out like traditional television, which I really appreciate. It plays out like many different things, like we're watching a play or you're reading a book. I think the way that, throughout the show in this season and last, Rue narrates really puts it into a different ballpark of what we're experiencing and why we're experiencing and why we're seeing this scene and how it's being shown to us. And the way they've in season 2, expanded characters and delved deeper into them and what makes them that way, I think has been really great. I think it's interesting. I think it's in some ways a compliment, in some ways maybe a diss, the way that I think I'm most interested in Euphoria when it's not about Rue. And I shouldn't say all the time. Obviously, her relapsing, obviously her struggling with sobriety, like and the stuff with the drug dealers, which I'm very upset never comes back. But we'll talk about that later. Those are good moments, but like the stuff between the love triangle she was in, just being a shitty drug addict to her family or whatever, like I was always the fact that like Cal becomes not a redeemed character, but like I feel for him, you know what I mean? When we see his flashback to who he was and what he wanted to be and where he was going to go and how that ended for him, I feel for him, to see how that plays out then for Nate. I understand. I mean, Fez and Ash, right? Thank you very much. Kevin has made the Rue and Crew shirt, ladies and gentlemen. You can get it at twitter.com/KindaFunnyKevin. You can go there right now and get Rue and the Crew. that's your shirt.
Real Lobo font. Good job, Kevin.
I thought it was.
I'm sure we're gonna rant for a while here, but I think like it's art. And I think that obviously leaves it to interpretation. There's plenty of things I like and dislike, but I was never bored with this show. This show never finished, and I was like, oh, even this finale, which I didn't answer questions I wanted it to, it did such a good job of answering other questions that I forgot about the other questions I had.
Hell yeah.
Kevin, what do you think?
I mean, I love this show. It's phenomenal. It's such good drama, This season had a lot of ups and downs. Like there's a lot of stuff that happened behind the scenes that have affected storylines. And that's kind of a bummer. No, like actors that don't want to. Let me pull up names. Hold on. I just had the IMDb open and I closed it because I was designing this fucking shirt.
I appreciate that you. What I appreciate there is you prioritized. You said what is most important for this content. Ruin the Crew, the T-shirt that is there.
Sorry. So Nate Jacobs' character and what's his actual name? So Nate Jacob. So Jacob
Elordi.
I can't say it. Elordi. Yeah, there you go. And Hunter Schaefer, Jules. They in real life became very good friends and then had a falling out, and they like don't want to be filming together. So there was allegedly there's a lot of rumors that there was a storyline that was cut, and then kind of transitioned to the character with the little tattoo.
Elliot.
Can't find Elliot. Thank you. And also the cat, Barbie Ferreira. There was rumors that there was a storyline that she was gonna center on her, and the rumors are it was like her developing an eating disorder, and she really didn't want to do that and got in an argument with the creator of it, and
Gotcha.
that's why
she's kind of like sidelined.
Yeah, that's why we saw.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. So the other rumors is that Cassie, like the story that happens with Cassie and Nate, was going to be with Jules.
Okay. Which would make sense, kind of, with the way they had set some stuff up beforehand.
So there are a couple things this season that are kind of like I wasn't a huge fan of Kat in season 1, but like I certainly didn't like how little she was used and where her story went. It did seem like it was really much the crew writing her off. But that being said, man, there was so much that I loved in this season. Like the buildup of Lexi doing this play and then us actually seeing the play. Like what a brilliant way to end it. And like this 2 episode, like I just want to see more and more of this play. It was so much fun. It was interesting that Rue hit her climax a couple episodes early, and I am bummed that like we didn't get I guess they're saving it for season 3, but I'm a little bummed that there's a giant open hole in the storyline where it just seems like and everything is fine for now until we remember about it next season.
And that's we're talking about the drug dealer, right? And the $10,000 in the suitcase.
Yeah, which is not that much money, you know.
Yeah, for a kid though it is, and I think they make the reference that they're kind of poor or whatever. So I think
but I feel like she could ask Elliot and explain it, and he'd be like, "All right, I'll give you $10,000." You know.
My thing with it is just why I don't like it is that there's not even like the hint of it. You know what I mean? Like first off, I think that drug dealer woman, Lori, is that her name, right? Lori, trying to make who's terrifying and has been comedic for so long and so many things we've seen her in, and then it's just like a nightmare here. Like I feel like there would have been pretty immediate repercussions or threats at least. Like I thought that there wasn't even a letter delivered to her house or some shit like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Something for her to pick up and us to be like, oh, that means next season that's going to happen. Because at the end of this, I had to Google, like, I thought they announced a season 3, did they? Because this totally kind of had like Stand By Me vibes of like, and then, Jules was my first love. At least I think so. I was too high. I graduated school. I finished the school year clean. I'm like, what the fuck? Are we done?
Yeah, it's interesting. Obviously, I'm with you guys in the sense
sorry,
of
just to
the
finish,
drug thing.
I was just going to finish. Oh,
I thought that it wasn't addressed head on, but I think that with the whole Fezco Ashtray ending with the cops and with that Cutter and Faye character, like they're so tied to that I think that kind of like puts us at least on a path towards getting back to it, where like we know it's gonna fuck up Rue eventually. So like I was okay because we had the ramifications of the cops seizing and everything like that is related to those groups of people. But continue, Kevin.
I was just gonna say, and then of course, like the season did such a good job building up Fezco. Where last season he was introduced and lovable character that every time we saw was, a delight. And this season just somehow made him even more like redeemable and amazing. And it's just one of these things where it's like, oh shit, he's doing all of this horrible stuff because it's the only life he's known, and he wants to help his like adopted brother. And man, what an emotional roller coaster. Even the way the second to last episode ends with him being like, what's wrong, guys? What's wrong? And it was just like, oh, fuck, everything was going down. I was honestly dreading watching the season finale because I was like, I don't want anything to happen to anyone in that house. Well, I didn't care about the annoying. Yeah. No, I like Faye. I like by the very end. I feel like Faye. Really won me over when she does the little. I'm just like, oh my god, thank God, Faye. Also, last thing is like, I'm not saying redeemed, but like there was a lot of growth for Cal, a lot of growth, and sure. It's really amazing that the show can do that because from the beginning, this is just a character. You're like, this guy's a piece of shit, and by the end, you're like, man, life's hard and complicated. He's still a piece of shit. He's still a piece of shit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Tim, what are your thoughts?
Tim, what's your
I have a new favorite thing. Like this is such a up my alley type of stuff because back in the day, I loved things like Degrassi, right? And the whole point of Degrassi was it goes there, and it did for 13-year-old kids for the storylines that they were going through. Like it really kind of pushed the limits. This just takes that to the nth degree, and on top of it adds an artistic vision like Greg was talking about, where every single choice has a purpose. And I love that it's not just a character study, it's multiple character studies that's kind of just rolled into this world where the world itself is a character. And I love how they treat it that way with the camera work and the transitions and every single thing simultaneously feeling like it's based in reality and based in fantasy. And the way that they tackle addiction and all of that, not in the way that we've seen before, where things get fantastical when people are on drugs. And it's actually almost the opposite, where it's like crazy fantasy elements and crazy lights and things can happen at any moment. And it's a believable world that they've made, so that whether we're watching something happen, we're watching the play of it being reenacted, or somewhere in between where the last 2 episodes constantly shifting between perspectives and is it the actors, is it not the actors, what does that all mean? Mm-hmm. They've earned that moment. Like they earned the ability to do that because they have given us this amazing cast that I feel more often than not when we transition to a different storyline, I'm like, oh fuck, I wanted to stay with them for every single storyline. And I think that is always a major plus, that going back to what Greg was saying is a very James Gunn thing. So I do think there's a lot of similarities there. I'm right there with Greg that this is the first time in a long time that I've had that Game of Thrones level of Sunday hype, where it's like, holy shit, like I need to know what's going on with this. I think they did a great job with Cassie and Maddie drama this season, kind of being that real arc that's keeping me coming back week after week with questions. And that's surrounded by so many other amazing storylines. Of course, the second to last episode, Holding Out for a Hero, quite possibly the most overused hype song of all time at this point. But this show
100%.
just said, fuck you, we're doing it better. And we are going to make the definitive version of it. And it was fucking awesome. And I loved that.
I like how people get so hung up on the internet and TikTok or whatever about like the way people dress in this school and how much money they would spend to look this way. Is anybody like, how much money does this theater department have for these amazing sets?
I love that because I love the choice that the showrunners make of just like, fuck the reality of it. You know what I mean? Like, don't ask those questions. Like they literally, I think, are poking fun at the people that are sitting there just like, what school would have this? It's like, if you're really thinking about this way, that's not the show for you. Like this show, it's hyper realized. Like there's so much to it. And I love that they made those choices because it reminds me a lot of old classic Kanye albums of he produced and wrote these things. And when you have that singular vision, it creates something special and different. And this reminds me of a modern, beautiful, dark, twisted fantasy in a lot of ways. And that combined with its like anime qualities, combined with its like super fucking amazing real acting, like every single character or actor in the show is on another fucking level. And it's because they allow them to kind of just sit, and especially in the two specials in between seasons 1 and 2, where they are for the most part just like single set sitting at a table conversations, like to allow these actors to really kind of deep dive into who they are, it just makes us care so much. And I think that the biggest compliment I can give the show is how much it plays with my emotions without manipulating them, but just kind of like playing into them, and it making me care so much about everything going on, both character and plot and all of that. But the way they deal with addicts and the way they deal with relationships and love, like I don't know if a single episode of the show didn't cause me to at some point tear up or be incredibly stressed the entire time. Know that I do not ever want to have kids be brought into this world where that could happen, where they could be the Euphoria kids. But
I've been, for the record, ever since he got here, Benjamin's been watching Euphoria, and I'm like, don't do this. I've been very clear. You know what I mean?
Yeah, stay away. So much bad shit out there. But I think the show does a great job of not making the bad shit just, oh, drugs are bad. It's like, no, there's badness everywhere, and there's so much levels to it all. And that's why I think that the characters of Lexi and Fez having their moments together give us something that we can really, really, really root for. And I love where their characters are at, where like so far she is really into him despite all of his bad shit. And I feel like that's real. Like that is like how real life works.
I really appreciated and enjoyed that, you know, when we see their love affair, friendship, whatever you want to call it, blossoming at the party, right? And then Fez is like, all right, cool, I'll hit you up later or whatever, and gets up, and then she sees him take off his sweatshirt, and then he goes and just beats Nate's ass, right? I was like, well, clearly she's gonna walk away. And like she doesn't, right? Because like, you know, well, Nate isn't a good guy. Everybody knows that in school, right? And like, you know that she knows that Fezco is a good guy at his heart. Like it was a cool push and pull to see her stick that out and stick through with that.
Yeah, I loved that. I mean, Fezco is the man, the myth, the legend. The end of this episode was absolutely horrible. Like it's just so heartbreaking, and like you knew it was coming, and they just ratcheted up, and it kept getting worse, and him popping back up with the one final like.
Dude, when they opened the door, I was like, oh shit, there's no blood on him.
Shit.
Fuck.
Yeah, it's just they really know what they're doing. I want to keep talking about the show, but first, let me tell you about our sponsors. This episode is brought to you by Guild Wars 2 End of Dragon, the third expansion for the award-winning and critically acclaimed MMORPG Guild Wars 2, and the culmination of the Elder Dragon saga. There's no shortage of new shenanigans to get up to explore the beautiful Canthan continent, travel, fish with your friends in your own personal skiff, unlock 9 new elite specializations, pilot the Siege Turtle combat mount, and way more. If you're new to Guild Wars 2, don't worry, their community of over 16 million players are ready to welcome you with open arms. If you're already a Guild Wars 2 commander, it's time to gear up for some new adventures, like that Siege Turtle mount I mentioned earlier. Yeah, it can bear 2 riders, one to handle the turtle, the other to operate the weapon strapped to its shell. That's awesome. What about the personal skiff I mentioned? It's your new home away from home on the waves. Ferry your whole party around to explore, relax, or drop anchor to fish over 200 unique species around Tyria. You can check out the link in the description to get your hands on Guild Wars 2 End of Dragons, available now. Kev, you had more to say? Saw you itching there.
No, I mean, I just the ending, him popping back up every time he would like yell. It was like Ashtray, listen, like, and it's one of those things where it's like they can take the story a bunch of places now. Where it's like, does Ashtray get blamed for everything, rightfully so, or does like because he had the knife, like does he get blamed? Ugh, I can't wait to see more like this. The like the love story they've put together with him and Lexi. It's so upsetting because I want them both to be happy so much, and at the same time there's so many things that will keep them from being happy. When he is talking to Faye and he's like do you think other people will think I look charming? And it was just like, you go find your love. And it's just like, ugh, he couldn't make it out the door, he couldn't leave, they
Yeah.
didn't let him out, and it's just such a bummer.
And his little note there on the ground,
Yeah.
getting stepped on by
Yeah.
the cops and shit.
Mm, mm.
Awkward. And again, like back to your point of last week's episode ending, the penultimate episode into the finale, right? Like that was where I was left too, where I was on the edge of my seat of what happened. Why did Fez not make it? You know what I mean? And not knowing what that was. And so that was the conversation, Jen and I all Sunday of like, do you think he was killed? Do you think this happened? Where does this go? Like, what is the actual event that stopped him? And so it was interesting then, to see it play out, have them address it from the front. And then like you were talking, Tim, sorry, about how, easy and good it is for the show to be able to switch between the fictional and the real and play with that. Like the conversation between Rue and Lexi at the end in Lexi's bedroom, right? And I was like, while I was watching, I was like, does she not know about Fez yet? What about the drug dealers? Shouldn't they be involved? And then when it's revealed that no, that's the end of the play. That's not reality. And Rue's watching that happen. We've gone through the looking glass kind of thing. I was like, fuck, that's an awesome move. Let alone the start of this episode too, where when Cassie was breathing at the window and after the I Need a Hero thing, I thought the play was over. And so I expected this to be the aftermath of it, to start back up and have there be more play, to have Cassie finally do what I thought somebody would have done from the audience and interrupt this live theater and be like, what the fuck are you doing? That was great. Their mom does a great job too.
I love her
fantastic.
mom.
Every time it cut to her watching herself,
she's like laughing
and would laugh and cheer, I was like, good, what a good sport. And like, just such an amazing, like it was so much fun.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, seeing Cassie like break down throughout the season was so much. And it was like, it went from like funny to sad to scary so quickly, but also so prolonged. And I feel like that was like such an amazing thing of like one of the earlier episodes. Like, I love how this show has like their kind of big tentpole episodes where everyone's together in one place. Like it's usually like a party or whatever. Having this season start with the party and everyone's there and kind of seeing the different perspectives of what's going on. But her and Nate being in that bathroom with Maddie knocking on the door was like such an intense thing. You're just like, holy fuck, like how is this going to end? And it just kept getting ratcheted up more and more and more. And like, I feel like Sydney Sweeney deserves so many awards, just like so many of these actors do, for just fucking absolutely killing it and just making us believe that they are these characters.
And that's the thing, is like, how many times in this show, and I know that some people will stay away from it, from them making them anxious, right? But how many times were you like, ooh, like wince watching, right? Like there's that scene with Cassie. There's, when Nate is driving Cassie home drunk the first time, and she's hanging
like
her head out the window like Hereditary. Oh my god, fuck, here we go. And like you keep getting through these moments that they don't happen. That's why, again, for them playing with that so much, right? When we get to Ash being in the bathroom and in the thing, I was like, they're gonna kill him, but then I was like, well, maybe they won't. Like, you know what I mean? They do such a good job of playing with what the fuck's about to happen and would they actually kill this character. Same thing to be said for Nate drunk driving to find his dad here in the final one, to find Cal, right, in the construction thing, and he walks in with the gun, and it was like, okay, so he's about to fucking blow him away. What's going on? And then he pulls out the USB drive and he's like, it's everything. And then the lights go. You're like, what the fuck? I didn't see this swerve at all. I'm like, is the chief going to arrest him for being drunk and driving and underage? But then I don't even care. I don't even care. But because again, to your point, Tim, right? Like this is surreal. So you have to like, the show isn't meant to be taken like this is actually happening in the real world, but then also it's not like too far removed from it. But again, like, right, the whole episode of Rue on the Run, where she's running from the cops and hiding in trash cans and, jumping out of cars and shit like that. It was like, what a fucking insane episode. But then also if you stop and deconstruct, you're like, wait a second, like, would any of this happen? Does it matter? Why do I care? I'm watching a TV show.
Yeah.
I know that's MJ. I don't need to worry about it. You know, she's fine. She's a good actress.
But that's the thing too, is like they do so effortlessly go back and forth between these moments. Like even with Kat, the things that are clearly fantasy of like her thinking about the Dothraki, just the way that they shoot those scenes and having the guy come in and actually speaking in Dothraki, it's like
Yeah.
that. It's those little details that are just taking that vision that extra level that it makes the grounded reality stuff feel even more real when next to this fantasy stuff that is so beautifully interwoven the entire time to back up what all these characters are doing in relation to each other. And we haven't even really talked about the soundtrack much, but goddamn, like the entire thing is just banger after banger after banger, and the way that they'll use motifs and songs to come back throughout the series to mean completely different things than the scene that they were previously used in. Like it is so damn good. I do think in season 2, my probably like biggest missed opportunity was Jules's character. Like I feel like she was so great in season 1 that I just wanted more of her. Like I don't think they did anything bad in this one, but I missed having her as kind of a main part of the whole dynamic. And I think that adding Elliot into the mix was a necessary change up. So it's not just repeating season 1 over and over and over between Rue and Jules, but I do think that she kind of got hit in a standstill a little bit this season, especially in the back half of the season. But hey, season 3, hopefully that just means she'll have a bigger part, you know?
Yeah, I think you're right on that. I think she becomes in the same way we were talking about Kat being sidelined, right? She's sidelined to to not have character growth, really, right? Like there is the being support for Rue, there is the standing up for Rue, you know, like, you know, she is the one who quote unquote rats them out or whatever. I was not happy when, you know, Rue showed up and forgave Elliot for like, I'm like, fuck you. You don't get to forgive me for that. I'm trying to save your life or whatever. Like, but it is that thing of like, when there's a scene, it's the scene with Nate, right? Where he hands back the sex tape. And, you know, it's the first time she sees it, she destroys it. That's her only, I feel, and I'm talking a little bit out my ass because I don't have the entire thing memorized, but I feel like that's her one and only moment as herself as a character, right? Because it was that thing of there, I'm like, oh right, she had a dad, didn't she? I haven't seen him all season. I don't know what's happening with the home life. I forget that kind of thing from season 1.
Yeah. A lot of dads in the show. A lot of bad dads, a lot of good dads, a lot of real dads. Like I feel like that is another cool thing I really like, is that it's not just the kids that we're invested in. It also is so many of the supporting cast adult characters, and like getting little bits of them where they don't just feel like the worst people in the world or the best people in the world. I mean, Cal kind of pushes the limit there, but like Cassie and Lexi's mom as a character, right? Like she's comedic relief in so many ways, but I feel like there is like a real darkness to it all too, and like kind of like seeing it all where she's not a bad mom, but she's not the best mom, you know. And I feel like
I mean,
that's a
she
good job.
might be a bad mom because like I feel like she wants to be one of the pals more than she wants to be a mom, because I think she's lonely, you know. Cal or her husband left her, right? And yeah, and it's awful, it's sad. But like I think that like she doesn't know what to do with her life, and that like that comes out with her wanting to be one of the gals there, and it's sad because, you know, obviously the Lexi and Cassie seem to be missing stuff, and they're, you know, reaching to try to fill that void in different ways. But it's so interesting the show can do that. I have one question.
To your point, I want to elaborate more on your point because I think it's a salient one, Kevin. I like it. I think it's the fact that it's what you're talking about, Tim, a little bit, and what we've been talking about, right? Is like, are there good and bad moms and dads? Like, obviously, you fucking are horrible. You know, if you're gonna beat your kid, you're a bad parent. If you're gonna fucking give them a bunch of free Ghostbuster stuff you got from the internet, you're probably a great parent. No big deal. But like, it is that thing of like, you see a struggling parent there, right?
Yeah.
Like she is trying to be there for her girls, but then she's also at the same time trying to be the cool mom. Like, you can drink here, but don't drive kind of shit. You know what I mean? Like, and she's trying to be friends with them. She's trying to be equals with them because you assume she had them so young, and then to be left alone with them, and then to have them be in this high school era that I'm sure she loved, or she has like similar to Cal, right? Like the best moments of her life are tied up in and stuff like that. And like just the fucking, I love that scene, the scene in the play that then becomes reality of like she wanted to, we're never all together, let's take a photo. No one wants to remember this moment, mom.
It is interesting thinking about that though, because I hadn't thought about like seeing this show through the eyes of all the different parents that we have in this world, because Rue's mom goes through a lot of things as well, and
for sure.
where the last place we see her, she's telling Rue like, hey, I'm kind of giving up on you. Like, you at this point, you have to stay alive on your own. I have to focus on my other
Yeah.
kid. Yeah, and that's one of those moments too, where it's like, is she being a bad mom or is she being a great mom to Gia? Is that her name?
Mhm.
Okay. And it's so interesting how all these questions come up, even like Fezco and his grandma, and how clearly, I mean, that woman had a lot wrong with her. And at one point, it's like, did she just kidnap Ashtray? You know?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
you know, who's to say? We're not the legal team of Hillsdale or wherever the fuck they live. I forget.
Sure.
Kev, I mean, what you're bringing up here, I think, is kind of the scariest strength of the show to me is how well they handle dealing with people having to deal with addiction, like the family around it and all that stuff. Like, definitely hits me hard in a way, like with how my family has been and my dad specifically dying from drugs and shit. Like, all of that, it's so well handled. And exactly what you're saying about, like, is what's the mom doing? Is it good? Is it bad? And it's like, she's trying her best, and it's like, it sucks where sometimes a good step in one way is a bad step in another. And like, you having to choose between these two daughters, like, that is an impossible position, but it's a position that's real. It's a position that millions of people are in different ways. And I think the show does a good job of having the ramifications of that affect characters in ways that don't just feel for drama's sake, which I think you can look at this show and just be like, oh, the most dramatic thing is going to happen. That's always the rule. Just look at that. And I think that there's more depth to it than that. Like, I think that it's all connected in a way where it's never truly about the drama happening. It's about how the drama affects the people around it and how, like, it's going to deepen their character. And I really enjoy that.
How caught off guard were you guys when Rue just blurts out, "Cassie, how long you been fucking Nate Jacobs?"
Oh,
Like,
man.
that was such that, and they did again for like the art of this and the fact that you can see them sitting there and planning the show out and all this stuff. Like, to have us all be like, "Oh my god, this is gonna go so bad," when Maddie finds out about Cassie and Nate, like, how's it gonna happen? Who's gonna slip up? Whatever. And then for us to be in the eye of the Rue storm. You know what I mean? Be on this crazy whirlwind adventure of her, and her just turn to Cassie to shut Cassie down for saying something stupid. It was like, holy shit. And then it was the same thing of, wait, did that really happen? Like, you know what I mean? Like, as soon as those words came out, and I was like, is this a swerve, or is it, oh fuck, it's real? All right.
And the acting again there, the way Cassie reacts, I think it's so realistic in that moment of the kid, like a teenager being like, "What? I don't know what the hell she's talking about." It's like, such good storytelling there.
Yeah, I mean, also Rue in that scene was just incredible. Like,
Dude,
the
that's the thing is,
entire
like,
thing.
I only know Zendaya from this and from Spider-Man, and that's when she came to my old man level of like knowing something about her. And like, I've always liked her, don't get me wrong, I think she's great, blah blah blah. This season, though, holy shit, like, her acting is incredible, and the way she goes and changes. And I think especially coming off of this started not too long after we watched No Way Home, right? So to have like these two big moments, tent poles from her career, I would say, and go into, I was like, holy shit, I'm so impressed with her.
Yeah, and like, to see the range that she has and the amount of different types of character that Rue has to have, and that Zendaya absolutely kills, I think is the most impressive thing. Because when we look at season 1 and then season 2, even the way they handle her being high is so varied. Where this is the first time in this season we see moments of her when she is on drugs that aren't deeply depressing, at least on the surface, of like
Sure.
seeing her in the car singing along, rapping along, and all, like, these moments of like almost levity almost makes it darker and more scary, because it's like they've done such a good job of just showing her, barely able to open a Jolly Rancher and things like that. Multiple, or just a couple scenes earlier, like, for her to switch back and forth between all that but still be believable, feeling like it's all the same person, that is so deeply troubling, scary, but impressive that she can pull that all off. And I think it's because the show kind of teaches us to stay on our toes. Like, I love how the show plays with formatting, where even like season 1, like, all the episode titles are like rap songs as you go through, where it's like Stunned Like My Daddy, Made You Look, Shook Ones Part 2, whatever. But then the last two just aren't. And I love that the show's like, you know what, fuck it. Like, we're gonna play with your expectations in the formatting, where every episode's gonna start with her having narration and a flashback deep dive on a character. except sometimes it doesn't. And I just love that because I feel like they know that they're kind of setting up this expectations of patterns and then breaking the patterns so that we are like paying a little bit more attention. I love that when I'm watching the show, I'm not on my phone. I am all into this world.
100%, right? Yeah, this is not one you can look away from, both because of plot points, but because of acting, because of things they're putting in. Again, back to the art thing, the way everything is framed and lit and colored, like it's all specific choices that I think do such a great job at keeping you on edge, keeping you engaged, making you happy, making you sad, whatever it's going to be through that. And like, again, to the Zendaya thing, to put, at least to close off my pin on it, like, again, yeah, the whole episode, which was what, 3 episodes ago, maybe 4, where her mom takes away the suitcase and gets rid of it, right? And that whole just fucking meltdown, but then the ups and downs of it, of being like crazy and punching and kicking down doors and then I'm so sorry, but I just need to see, you know what I mean? Like, what a fucking clinic.
Yeah, absolutely. And the last thing I want to say is like the amount of times in this show that I have to sit there and be like, how did they shoot this? And like kind of have to pause it and break down in my mind, like trying to think it through, and then seeing all the Twitter videos that go viral of like the behind the scenes of different shots. Utterly incredible stuff, man. Like especially during the play where the camera would in one shot like go over someone's shoulder and it goes from the actors we know to the actors in the play. Like there's the one shot of them with the mirror where Cassie and Lexi are like putting on their makeup or whatever, and the camera goes over and then it switches actors, and that was all practical, where it wasn't a mirror, it was actually the other actors like in a fake set to look like it. And it's like, that is absolutely incredible stuff. And they do that shit 15 times an episode, where it's not just like, oh, here's that one cool moment of the show. It's like, no, the entire show is based around these like ridiculously complex music video-esque transitions and shots. Like the amount of times the camera just goes straight up and is like a top-down shot of a house, and you're seeing like the entire layout of the house, like room by room, and like we're just laying there. It's like, how the fuck did they do this? Like, it's so overly produced in a way that just actually works because it's backed up by substance. So shout out to them, man. Nailing the style substance kind of balance is a very tough thing when you're this stylish, but they really did. Let us know in the comments below what you think about Euphoria season 1, season 2,
more Tom Holland next time.
Yeah, give us more, baby. I'm so upset we didn't get him in the play. Can you imagine him in that dance scene? Because I definitely can.
But I like that he's just an Easter egg in the crowd or whatever.
Yeah,
like people were popping for him. That's cool.
But him being an Easter egg hump in the air would have been utterly fantastic. We've all seen the lip sync battle.
From everything.
Anyway, let us know what you think in the comments below. And until next time, I love you all. Goodbye.